Okay, some guys are joining us online, so I'm told I have to use the microphone. We have been having formal and informal engagements during the award ceremony and the nominations sessions and what have you. So we felt it would be good to come and have a discussion and share the data that we collect, because we collect a lot of data in the course of whatever we do, and we feel this data is critical to us as producers. And I'd like for us to have a quick round of introductions so that we get to know who is in the house. Just tell us your name, whether you're a producer or you're of the secretariat or a jury, and which production house you represent. I will start from my extreme left, the lady with the headphones.
Good morning. My name is Fiona Oyugi. I'm part of the KTA Secretariat.
Good morning, Ian Bogua, jury member.
Good morning, Angela Owingo, jury member.
Good morning, Luis Cavoy Xavier, jury member.
Good morning, Stini Njoroge, jury member.
Good morning, Julie Soro, producer and director for Chemi Chemi Players.
Morning, God is good all the time. Raina Bandu, producer, Igiza Arts Production. Thank you.
Hamjambo nyote. Robinson David Chikunzira from Millers Productions, Kenya.
Good morning. I am a slight outlier because I'm a data user, so I'm here because of that. I'm Anne Gitonga. I am a policy analyst at the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis. So using data to then inform policy.
Good morning. My name is Mark Wabwire from CMG Posh Media. I'm currently working as a director for the Shibale story series, which includes Big Boys of Shibale and Bigger Boys of Shibale.
Morning, everyone. Amar Desai, director, producer from Aperture Africa Productions.
Morning. I'm Dorothy, a theatre student and a member of Tombota Sana.
Good morning. Chadota, producer, performer, director at Kalaha.
Morning. My name is Faith Masharia from People Daily Newspaper. I'm a writer.
Good morning. My name is Suki Wanza, former jury member 2023-2024.
Good, thank you. And once again, welcome everyone. So we have jury members, Karibu. Sorry, my name is Ngobia. Today I'm your MC. I'm an upcoming MC, so I'm an MC for the day. And I am from the KTA Secretariat. Thank you very much. I'm happy that we have Kipra in the house. Kipra is currently running their 8th regional conference at the Kenya School of Government. And yesterday evening, they had an interesting session on the creative economy. Some of us were there. So I'd like to encourage us to also engage with them on what they do so that we plug into that space as well. Faith, karibu sana. It's always good when we have members of the fourth estate to profile and share what is happening in the space. So once again, everyone, welcome. What we are going to start with is a brief presentation Hadassah on some of the stats that we have. And then after that, I think we'll have Kipra, and then now we'll have the jury chairs, the former jury chair for last year, Madam Suki, and the current jury chair, Ian. And then we have that open forum where we can have the discussion. So Hadassah, or whoever is on the PowerPoint presentation, you can, we can start off. I don't know whether somebody was supposed to be making a keynote, which is why they put this here. Thank you to the technical team. The technical box is suspiciously empty. Is that where we are playing the presentation from? Fiona? Nikule nyuma? Oh, we are good to go. Good, thank you. So this is a brief introduction of KTA. KTA is an affiliate of the KITFT, the Kenya International Theatre Festival Trust, where I think we all know what we do. By its structure and way of operations, the awards will also document and provide data and statistics of live stage theatrical performances held in Kenya in a given year, with details of the venues, number of performances, Kenyans attending performances, and where possible, the revenue generated from theatrical activities. So this is what KTA seeks to do, and today we are here to have a quick discussion on that first sentence on the second paragraph. What you have been able to document and the kind of data and statistics that you've been able to collect over the last couple of years. Next slide, please. So we have a brief description of the festival trust, or rather the trust, and we talk about the organization hosting KTAs and also seeking to celebrate the power of theater and performing arts while fostering a global community of artists and audiences. And we are happy that we've been able to achieve this over the last 10 years. We've had over 60 countries represented at KITFT and hundreds, if not thousands, of artists who've taken part in the festival. That is our vision and that is our mission. I'm sure we've shared this before during the festival, but it's also good to go through it once again. We seek to empower and inspire the performing arts community through innovative leadership and platform development. KTA is one of our flagship platforms to celebrate outstanding theatrical talent, and our mission is to create a dynamic and inclusive arts community by providing access to cutting-edge resources, leadership opportunities, and platforms for sustainable creative expression. So this is still a work in progress. I think it will be a work in progress for as long as we're in existence. As an example, today we'd like to see, we had over 250 production houses the last year, and we invited all the 250 producers to this particular meeting. We had 30 confirmations, so we are still on the journey for creating an inclusive arts community, and we are encouraging you guys to also speak out, share it with other producers, let them see why it's important for us to sit down together and have these discussions if we are to achieve this particular mission. We strive to drive engagement and cultivate a love for the arts through exhibition, education, collaboration, and community building. Thank you. We can move to the next slide. So we have our various programs and products. KITFest, the main festival, again celebrating its 10th year this year. We sent out the call. I'm sure all of us saw it, and I'm happy that most of us here are regular participants and attendants of our festival. This year we have the festival from 4th to 16th. Again, karibuni sana. We hope to spice it up a little bit to celebrate a decade of theatrical progress. We have the KTAs, which is why we are here, the Kenya Theatre Awards. We recently celebrated the 4th KTA ceremony. I'm happy to note that almost everybody in this room is a winner. So you can clap for yourselves, guys. Apart from Kipra, you have not won. No, I'm not saying you don't clap yourself. You are not a winner yet. Let's clap for ourselves, guys, for the work we are doing here. We have Theatre KE, which is a website, a web platform that we have been trying to create and establish, which we established last year, actually. So what Theatre KE seeks to do is to collect data on all theatre artists in the country, collect data on all theatre performance venues in the country, collect data on all performances as well in the country, and right now we are piloting it using the County Theatre Fiesta program. So what we are doing is in every county we go, the last 10 days we were in Nakuru, where we were hosting Nakuru and Narok artists, and they set up their profiles here. And I think at the end of this, Fiona will take us through a quick demo of how Theatre KE looks like. And the whole idea is if somebody is interested in coming to stage a performance in Kenya and wants to seek out a stage manager, is there a platform, is there a one-stop shop where they can get this? If somebody wants a lighting designer and they're able to see their works, if somebody wants a writer, if somebody wants this type of actor or this type of actress, these types of dancers, do we have a one-stop shop? So Theatre KE seeks to do that, and we are also encouraging especially the grassroots artists to be able to create their events here. They can ticket their shows here, they can market their shows here, and they can track that kind of engagement. So we have the Mad Fans, we have Tico Hub, we have Kenya Bars and all that, but what KITFest is doing is trying to create one specific platform that is for theatre artists, so that, because most of these other ones are basically for events and activities, not just theatre. So we are creating a one-stop shop for theatre as well, for those of us who might want to use it. So we encourage all of us to support this. And then we have theatre publishers. which is where we publish our journals. So far, we've been able to publish 2 journals, the East African Journal of Theatre, and they are available at the KITFT offices in Maendeleo House. So we have held 2 performing arts conferences here in collaboration with the Kenya Cultural Center, and some of this research output is available through the journals that we published there, and the hope is soon enough we'll be able to have this as an online journal so that we are able to get this material online. Yesterday at the KIPRA conference, we talked about open knowledge, open markets, open access, and all this information. There is nothing secret here. We want to make this as visible as possible, as public as possible, because information is power. The more we have this kind of information, the more we make informed decisions, informed choices, and informed strategies as we seek to grow our craft. So we can move to the next slide. Aims and objectives, celebrating the contribution of theatre makers. So this is what we do through KTA. We also try to raise the profile of Kenyan theatre. We provide data and statistics of these performances. We recognize the multilingual and multidimensional forms of theatre in this country. We build new audiences. We recognize and reward young emerging producers. We aim to stage a world-class ceremony. For those of us who have been attending, you can give us our scorecard from 2022, whether we are getting there. And we also hope to become the most prestigious award scheme for live theatre in Kenya and the continent for the next decade. So that is what KTA aims to achieve. We can move to the next slide. The composition of the KTA jury since we started, ideally, we normally have somebody from the industry. We have somebody who represents the associations and guilds that we have. We normally have somebody from the media. We normally have somebody from academia. And at the very beginning, we also had people from government. But government did us the thing, so we used to have a jury. I was in the first jury, and our government rep, I think, came for the award ceremony. So we clapped for her because she came for the award ceremony. And that happened for quite a while, and then we decided we don't necessarily need to have government. They can just support in any other way, because KCC, as part of our partners, we cannot necessarily have them in the jury, but we were trying to get guys from ministry and so on and so forth. So what we do now is we have representation from the industry, we have representation from academia, and we have representation from the media, and that forms the composition of the jury. So for 2024-2025, below there, we had Suki Wanza as the jury chair. She's here today. We had Dr. Emmanuel Shikuku from Kenyatta University. We had Ian Bogwa, also from the industry/academia. And we had Sitawa as well, industry. And we had Stini representing the media. Then this year, the jury is comprised of Ian as the jury chair. Then we still have Stini and Sitawa, who are the rollover judges for this year. And we have Lewis Kavoi from Wood Creek School. And we have Angela Owino as well representing the media. So how the jury operates is all jury members serve a term of 2 years. So it is on a rolling basis. Unfortunately, the very first ones we served for 1 year so that we could be the ones to show how we roll over. So what happens is you can see Emmanuel Shikuku and Suki Wanza had completed their 2-year term by the time we were in 2025. So they dropped off, and then we had Lewis Kavoi and Angela Owino coming in. So at the end of this year, Ian, Stini, and Sita will have come to the end of their 2-year tenure. So that means we'll have 3 new jury members joining, and those 2 providing continuity. So we have that rollover effect, and we are happy also to receive interest from some of you or people you know who can serve as members of the jury, so that we continue enhancing the jury process and enhancing the quality of the award ceremony that we have. So those are our jury members for this particular year. You can move to the next slide. The jury process, which I think as producers is critical for us to understand. We normally face a lot of questions here. So the jury process begins with invitations from producers. You have a show. We have the KTA website. You normally log on to the KTA website and you send us an invitation. Some of us don't necessarily want to use the website. You just send an email or a poster to any of the jury members, any of the secretariat members, or sometimes we actually see the notifications online somewhere. We lift the posters, we share them on our platforms, and so the jury process begins from that particular point. The website has a link to invite the jury. The posters are also shared in the group. The jury then picks the days and the dates and the time that they can attend the show. Sometimes we have as many as 10 shows over one weekend. So we ask the jury which day and date are you available and time are you available to attend this particular show. Some of you producers are very strict with your tickets. So you tell us the only show the jury can come is on Friday at 6. But maybe on Friday at 6, the jury is watching a show that is only available on Friday at 6. Like some of these one-person performances, most of them don't have a run. They just do like a Wednesday evening or a Friday evening, and then that is it. So as producers, we'd like you to maybe allow us some room for the jury to be able to say, this is the dates that I'm actually available. Some of these jury members also, maybe they might have their personal things to see to, professional activities over the weekend. So we normally give them the leeway to pick which day and date and time that they can attend the show. When we do that, we often request the producers to bear with us and to give us tickets for those shows. Some of you guys don't give us tickets completely. So sometimes because we are theater lovers, we buy tickets and we come and watch your shows, and we still have them in the jury process. So we normally request producers, please support us in this. So then the jury go for shows. They might not necessarily go for all the shows also, because if there are 10 shows happening in 2 days, they can only be in so many places at a go. So what happens is, again, we are equipping ourselves with multimedia equipment, as you can see, and the idea is for those shows that you are not able to attend, we video record them, again with your permission, and then we are able to judge them or go through them later on in video format and do justice to that particular piece. So the year is divided into 4 quarters, where we have an annual conference is held in January. That is the main conference that comes now at the end of all the other conferences. This is where we do our shortlisting and the nominations, and then we release the nominees. So the quarters are divided as we see there. So January to March is the first quarter. So we normally have a meeting later in April, probably the second week of April, to look at what we watched from January to March, so that we don't forget a lot of the things that we looked at. April to June, which is the second quarter, like what we have right now, we'll have a meeting in July. March, April, May, June. Yes, we'll have a meeting in July to discuss what will have happened. And then we have the third quarter, July to September, and the fourth quarter, October to December. So in January, we normally have 2 conferences, the fourth quarter conference and the main conference, where we do the nomination activities. We can move to the next slide. Awards category breakdown. We meticulously evaluate award categories based on their competitiveness within the annual assessment and review. Here the keyword is competitiveness. We have interesting genres that come up every other year, but they are not necessarily competitive. So there is only one production house doing something specific. We might not necessarily have that as a competitive category. What we'll do is we'll do a special mention and say, we have these guys doing 1, 2, 3, and we'd like to appreciate what they are doing. For example, we have the play reading activities that happen at Gote. And this has come up repeatedly, and it's an innovation that we have in the theater space, but it's not yet competitive because it is only one group doing it. So it will be a bit unfair for other very competitive categories to include that when we all know who is going to be the winner year in, year out. So that is still subject to discussion. So in the recently concluded year, 2024, we had 43 categories that we looked at, and 36 of them met the criteria for public voting eligibility, meaning they were competitive. The others were not necessarily competitive. So for categories, I think you can click on that link and you can see it from our website. So award categories may change from year to year based on the nature of submissions. Some are shelved, reintroduced, or restructured to stay relevant, and we have examples there. In 2023, Best Dance Theatre was shelved, for lack of a better word, because there was only one company doing dance theatre. So it will have been a competition between one company, and even then there were not many performances. I think there were 2. So we decided to shelve it for that year. But last year saw a return of many dance theatre performances across various companies, and then we had it back. Solo performance was removed completely because we realized that most of the winners in the best one-person performance are also the winners in this best solo performance category. So it's like a duplication. So we still stuck to We chose the best one-person performance, whether it is male or female, and removed the solo performance component. Stand-up comedy was shelved at some point, again, because we didn't have a lot of that happening. Learning institution category was split after a couple of years because we realized universities cannot compete with high schools and primary schools in what they are doing. So now we have best learning institution for the tertiary institutions where we merge colleges and universities, and the other category is schools. So we have both primary schools and high schools. We move to the next slide. The voting process. The voting for KTA nominees is a crucial part of determining the winners. The process is confidential and impartial. You guys can confirm. If the jury members have ever told you what is happening in the jury process, then we'll know it is not as confidential as we think. Yeah, so we try to be as confidential and impartial as possible. For those of us who have the privilege to sit when these people are having their discussions, I think it is going to forever remain a secret, like electing the Pope. But it is a very heated discussion there. You will go there and find Ian and Suki that day. They are not seeing eye to eye on anything. And so you have to tell these guys, it is just a voting process. Let us be impartial. I know you love this kind of thing. You love this kind of thing, and so on and so forth. So we have that, but that is why we have the jury as a team of 5, because always there is somebody who can be able to break a tie, because we normally have a lot of ties, especially the competitive category. So it's confidential and impartial and overseen by the Secretariat to uphold the integrity and credibility of the awards. So while public participation is highly valued, we only allow it to contribute 30% of the final vote. In the first year, I think we did 50-50, if I'm not wrong. And some of the, let me give an example, one of the winners, one of the runaway winners, because when you look at the records, it shows they garnered a lot of votes. But in the jury vote, they were, I think, number 2 or number 3. But because they had a massive following online, they marshaled numbers and ended up beating the jury's number 1 by a very big margin. So in subsequent years, we decided to give the jury's vote a stronger weight, because also these are the guys who have actually watched all these performances, and we'd like to think that they are also experts in this particular area, while most of the people who are voting, some of them are not necessarily experts. They're just voting based on who they prefer. So the 70% is determined by the jury, ensuring that both popular opinion and expert assessment is considered in recognizing excellence in Kenyan theatre. We move to the next slide. How do we collect these data? Through our systems and websites. So for instance, when we have theater KE, we are collecting data from that particular website. Through our voting system, we collect data from this, and we are instituting data protection mechanisms on all our platforms so that we ensure we are in compliance with the law. We collect data through emails. We send you guys emails and ask you whether you'd like to respond to 1, 2, 3 things. You respond through Google Forms, through sign sheets, through application forms, through spreadsheets. We have various methods of collecting data in all the various activities that we do. Move to the next slide. And so here we have some of the statistics that ideally are what we'd like to share with you for the year 2023 and 2024. So from the data that we have, please note we are not able to access all markets. There are still some instances where a show will happen in Siaya and we get to hear about it like a month or 2 later. A show will happen in Mombasa and we get to hear it way later. So this is the information that reaches our desks, but it is as conclusive as possible, because from the start of 2024, we appointed KTA coordinators in every county. Even counties are big, but we still have coordinators in every county, and their work basically is to listen and get to know there are shows happening in this particular town, in this particular constituency, and share with us. So that is why we are a bit confident that the data actually represents what is happening on the ground. So the total number of companies that were active in theatre in 2023 were 133 as compared to 2024, where we saw growth when we had 152. In terms of production, these 133 companies produced 250 shows. So that is about 1.5 shows. So we can say some of them did 2 or 3, while some just did 1. In 2024, we had 152 companies, so more companies came up, but the shows reduced. there were 225. So what does this mean? We had the emergence of, for example, the one-person performances. So somebody does a show, but they'll only do one show during the week, and then that is it. Or it's an experimental kind of theater, and you just do one as a new company, and that is it. So the company, we have an addition in the number of companies, but the shows don't grow because you don't do a run, for instance. So that is why the number of shows or other productions went down slightly there. Same thing to the number of shows. We can see the total number of shows that were staged across the year in 2023 was 680. In 2024, they came down a little bit to 601. One of the reasons in 2024 the shows were not as many is because the Kenya National Theatre, being the principal space where a lot of productions actually happen from the data that we'll see, had been shut down for a while. So the main auditorium was not accessible, and people were using Ukumbi Mdogo, Cheche, and what have you. So because of the competitive nature, again, of getting space, we were not able to have performances having longer runs. So that is why the shows probably dipped in that particular number. So these are the number of active companies that we have, 152 right now. We have companies that do performances and then disappear for a year or two and then come back maybe after a couple of years. So that is why we normally have these discrepancies in the total companies, that statistic there. We can move to the next slide. The county distribution, we are very big on distribution of counties because one of the reasons we feel theatre is not growing as, or rather has not grown as exponentially as it should have, is because it is centered in Nairobi. Theatre has not managed to grow very strongly outside the capital. So Nairobi, as you can see, still holds the biggest number of productions, 232. The nearest competitor is Wasingishu with 7. This is Eldoret. So when we say Eldoret is doing well, we ask ourselves, who are we comparing them to? Are we comparing them to Kiambu and Kisumu? Or are we comparing them to the standard that is Nairobi? So we'd like to encourage our producers, you guys, you are doing very well in Nairobi. Can we start venturing outside here and seeing whether we are able to tap into these untapped markets? Because you have Wasingishu there, second at 7. You have Kiambu that had 5. Kisumu had 2 performances, Mombasa 1, Embu 1, Nakuru 1, Nyeri 1. So especially here for the counties, the data is not as conclusive as possible because this is where we talked about a lot of performances happening and we don't get to hear of them. Or some of these artists completely have no idea that there is such a scheme that happens, and we need to tap into it to share that data, which is what the Theatre KE platform is seeking to fill that particular gap. So the number of shows, we had productions 232, the shows were 651. So you can see there it's about every company in 2023 doing about 3 shows, 3 shows for every production. So maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, or something like that. Wasingishu had 8 shows, Kiambu had 11, Kisumu had 3, Mombasa had 3, Embu 2, Nakuru 1, and Nyeri 2. So as I said, especially for the counties, this is not very conclusive data, which is why we want partners like Kipra to help us understand how we can tap into these spaces and collect enough conclusive data. Because if you producers get to see this, then there is no reason for you to go to Embu. You'll say, if I take my show to Embu, probably there is no audience there, or I'll not make money from that. So we want to see how we tap into these markets. That is 2023 county distribution. Move to the next slide. 2024 county distribution, you can see there was an upside again in the number of productions, but the shows were not as many. So it's good to note that dynamic. So number of productions, we had 176 in Nairobi. The number of shows were 528. Wasingishu grew. They literally doubled their productions from 2023 to 2024. So they had 7. Now we can see the productions were 13. And we saw that buzz. And this is partly because Eldoret is also going to be recognized as a city, as a creative city, just like Nakuru. And the governor and the county government has initiated concerted efforts to try and establish theatre in the county. So we had 16 shows in Eldoret. Mombasa also came up. We had 10 shows in Mombasa, 10 productions with 18 shows. Nakuru also came up. Again, this can be credited to a project they were doing called the Nafasi project that supported, and the His Stage project, which also took initiatives here. So it's important to note the work and the effort that partners are doing to help us disseminate theater from Nairobi. So Alliance Francaise, Goethe Institute, the initiatives that they have been running, they have using the Kazik network, especially the Creative Art Spaces Network in Kenya, which is something I think all of us should tap into, where we have set up spaces in Kisumu, at Dunga Beach, in Nakuru, at the Nakuru Players Theatre, at Sarakasi here in Nairobi, at Swahili Port in Mombasa, and at Lamu, where we normally have the Lamu Festival, outside the museum. We have set up spaces that have ample lighting, ample sound, that are able to host high quality performances. So again, that is what happened. That is why we see us in Gishu, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu had an upsurge in that. I'm not seeing Lamu yet, and yet we have a space there. So again, that suggests that we have a space that is unutilized, because it's a space that we equipped in 2022, but you have not seen production houses head down there. So Nakuru 8, Kiambu 7, Embu also came up. You find that in a town like Embu, which is one production company that is basically responsible for all those shows. We have Kisumu, Kakamega also came up, Makueni, Siaya, Nyeri. So you can see heavy distribution there. Now, if we were to open the context a little bit, this is the county distribution for theater. When you attend what you call the Kenya Music and Cultural Festival, which is a government festival, which is in its 98th year, this particular year, it's going to be held in Eldoret, you find that the counties now have more productions and more artists and more performances than Nairobi by far. But they refer to themselves as cultural practitioners. They don't necessarily refer to themselves as theater practitioners, because some of their performances are purely for cultural purposes. They are not theater. It doesn't have drama. So it could be music only, dance only, but doesn't have the theatrical component. But again, these are audiences, these are performers, these are artists that you might want to tap into, because they are the same people that we get when we go now down there with theatrical activities. And then they convert very easily from becoming cultural practitioners, they become theater practitioners. So again, that's a dynamic that you need to note, and I would like to encourage producers strongly to visit the Kenya Music and Cultural Festival. It's normally held in December, the first week of December. This year it's going to be in Eldoret. We are going to get very interesting partners who are there ready to support the cultural space, not knowing that there's a theatrical space also that can work with, can benefit from the kind of support that they give. We can move to the next slide. Next slide. Venues. In 2023, we collected a total of 88 performance venues. And in 2024, we collected a total of 85 performance venues. We had thought we would discover a lot of new venues in 2024, especially because the theater had been closed for a while. But it appears we just made proper use of the facilities that we have around there. We can move to the next slide. I don't know whether they have broken down the venues so that we know, again, we see, there's a distribution for the venues, so that we see where these venues are. So the most used venue, as you can see from there, is Ukumbi Mdogo specifically, not just the National Theatre. The main auditorium is up there with 16.4%, but Ukumbi Mdogo is a big hit here with 21.4%, closely followed by Alliance Francaise at 17.9%. Then we can see the main auditorium, again, coming in strongly there at 16%. We have the Professional Center. I think this is for 2023, if I'm not wrong. So we have the Professional Center again, which saw an upsurge of vernacular productions or indigenous languages productions at 12.1. And then we have NIMPA in Zimmerman with 3.9. So there's also Braiban Gitanga Road just before NIMPA with 4.5%. And then the bulk of the performances, if you ask me, when you collate all this on the top left, this is where we have a lot of shows happening, but in different spaces now, which ideally we should help grow. These are the spaces that, if possible, as producers, if we have shows that we want to popularize these kind of spaces and these kinds of audiences, because these are audiences that almost always sell out and fill out in these particular spaces, we might want, once again, to tap into them. So that is the venue distribution per shows. We'll be sharing this presentation so that you're able to also have a look at it more critically. We can move to the next slide. Venue versus shows. Again, we have that particular distribution, which is where now we look at the venue and how many shows it hosted. Again, Ukumbi Mdogo is leading, closely followed by Alliance Francaise and Braiban Gitanga Road. These are venues that almost always have one production being performed a number of times. So like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that is what that statistic shows. Most of these others, we end up seeing a performance just one off, and then that is over. We'll have a performance at, for example, ICC Nairobi, which normally hosts their shows around Easter, and then after that, it will be very difficult to see that space again being used. So these are space that producers, again, we can tap into. You have the Nakuru Players Theatre that will come in once in a while, Elgon View from Eldoret. Then we have the schools, again, who host their shows. So this is what that kind of, that particular statistic looks like. We can move to the next slide. The days distribution, here we try to look at which are the most popular days for theater for you guys when you are setting up your shows. Saturdays were popular with 309 shows for that particular year. Sunday had 247 shows. Friday had 198 shows. Monday, 10 shows. Tuesday, 12 shows. Thursday, 52 shows. Wednesday, 18 shows. So again, the most popular day for theater, according to the data that we have, is on Saturday, closely followed by Sunday and Friday, where we normally have most of the opening nights, or Thursdays. For some of the shows, they open on Thursdays, and then the runs start from Friday. We can move to the next slide. The time slots. When do people watch shows the most? At 6 o'clock is the most popular time for audiences, with 127 shows clocking, or rather 127 entries for that particular one. Closely followed by 6:30, shows that set their time at 6:30, and then the other ones at 3 p.m. So again, we still prefer watching shows later on in the evening. We have 7 p.m. coming up with 84%. We have 2 p.m., not 84%, the number of shows. We have 2 p.m. with 56, and then 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. as well. So again, theater is more of an evening affair, an afternoon and an evening affair, which is important to note. We appreciate the guys who set up shows as early as 11, but most times you'll find that statistic, and the 9 p.m. one also, 9 a.m. one, they come from schools, because schools have student shows earlier on during the day. We can move to the next slide. Average show cost in Kenya is still at 1,428. So if you are charging shows at 500, nyinyi ndo mnafanya tusipate pesa. People are ready to pay 1,400 for a show on average. So what you are again telling producers is now you have an idea of how to cost your shows. Depending on wherever you are, this is the national average. Of course, we are saying the national average, but the majority of the shows are in Nairobi. So some of you again will come out and say, because Too Early for Birds costs 3,000 in Nairobi, you are going to charge your ticket at 3,000 somewhere in Makueni or Moranga. Alafu kina Kuramba, unasema you didn't have that particular insight. So what we'll do for this year, we discussed at the Secretariat, is also we'll try to show the average show cost in every county. So at the moment you decide you are taking a show to Mombasa, this is how much Mombasa residents are willing to pay to watch a show. This is how much Nakuru residents are willing to watch a show, because different markets have different dynamics, and we have seen this when we've taken shows out there. So that is the average costing for our shows nowadays. We move to the next slide. Languages. Majority of our shows are in English, over 150, as we can see. Then we have the mix of English and Kiswahili, coming up to about almost 100. Then we have English and Sheng, that is another different dynamic, not just English and Kiswahili, coming up to between 50 and 100. And then we have Kikuyu, we have Kisi, then we have Luo, French. The French, you'll realize this is mainly from the performances that Alliance Française for the what do we call them? The French shows that they host there, which they later on adapt. You have Giriama, you have Pokomo, you have Turkana, you have Ma. We have shows in all these languages happening both in Nairobi and outside Nairobi. So again, it's important to note that we are having an uptick of the local languages, and this is again something that is important for us to continue growing. For those of us who came to watch Wangwa Makere, I think online we saw that they sold out almost all the shows, all the 5 shows that they had. So that's another dynamic that we might want to look at, interrogate it, and ask ourselves, how do we have more of that so that it's not just an exception, it becomes the norm. Thank you. Move to the next slide. Yes, so there is a narrative there on the trajectory of continuous growth. We have executed 4 editions since 2021. We have brought together, we are saying previously it was a bit fragmented, and through such forums, we are hoping more and more for inclusivity. We are hoping to converge all these talents. We are happy that we have actually seen collaborations stemming from some of these discussions and activities that we've had, and bring our professionals to under one common roof with a shared objective of celebrating and acknowledging the remarkable advancements with the theatrical domain over the years. Last year we had some of our performances, I think Big Boys, Millers go to Kampala for the Kampala International Theatre Festival, and we are happy that when we go out there, I think Wabure, you can bear me witness, we are happy at the progress we are making in Kenya. We can see that yuko pabaya. Sasa zingine ni vizuri unatembelea wageni kidogo, unajua maneno yenu sio mbaya sana. We can improve, but maneno yetu sio mbaya sana. So we are happy that in this next decade, one of our objectives as KITFT, working with KCC, is to ensure we have as many Kenyan performances being showcased outside Kenya as possible, because this is a cultural and creative product, and we want to make it that way. So we want to open up the regional market, the African market, the global market eventually, so that we have as many of our performances out there as possible. We were happy at our just ended edition, the one that we held in February. We thought it went very well. We liked seeing people in masks, the burlesque theme, and so on and so forth. But it is important to underscore the significant contributions to employment generation and sustainable growth that these initiatives are having. When we have an activity like the County Theatre Fiesta, where we have about 30 or 40 individuals employed outside there, both as trainers, as secretariats, and staff. When we have KITFT, at KITFT, of late now we are talking about 70 to 80 employees during any edition that we are having. Some of them are on volunteer basis, some of them are on full-time basis. And when we have all these activities happening, a lot of employment is then generated. That is just from the festival. Now when we come to your production houses, you guys are hiring ushers, you are hiring accountants, you are hiring marketers, which is creating new employment apart from the conventional acting, directing, stage management, lighting, sound, the conventional guys that we have. We are now opening up that space, and we are having more and more people getting this employment. However, you do not want to give us this data as producers. I was having that discussion yesterday with somebody and saying, we normally ask you are allowed to tell us how many tickets did you sell, how many people did you employ, do you have an average like wage, so that you know these what stage managers are running in the country, these what lighting technicians are running. You are very economical with that particular data. So again, we are asking you, for us to grow, for me to bring a partner and say I have brought a partner to Igiza and they want to buy a whole show, the partner wants to know how much do I pay the stage manager, how much do I pay the lighting guy, how much do I pay the actor per show, and so on and so forth. So it's important for us to get this data so that we are able to share it, especially with potential partners who want to come into our space and work with us. So ladies and gentlemen, that was a brief presentation of the kind of statistics and data that we keep collecting at KTA. I'm sure you also have yours, so it will be beneficial for us to keep contributing to this, and ultimately we'll be publishing, when we have data rich enough, we'll be talking with KIPRA so that every year we publish a state of the theater report that can be used by both policymakers, ourselves for growth, academia, students who are learning performing arts, and so on and so forth. So with those many remarks, you can clap for me now. Thank you. I think I want to, because we'll have one general open forum for questions, we can just hold on the questions, because the moment they come, they might preempt some of the presentations that are coming. So I want to invite our next speaker. Let's not call them speakers. They might come and make speeches, because it is Suki. Our next speaker will be the jury chair from 2024. She'll basically be giving remarks on the jury experience and reflections also on the 2024 process, now that she's sitting on the chair emeritus sector. And then later on, we'll have Ian talking about what we keep expecting for this particular year, 2025, now that we are still here. So please give a round of applause and welcome Suki Wanza.
Okay. Yeah, we are few, so I don't have to go up there. Thank you so much for coming. It's great to see all of you here. I'll be brief. Wamesema speaker. I had a class this morning, or rather I was supposed to have a class this morning, and because of this session, I was not able to go for the class. So my mind is still geared. I was expected to talk for 3 hours today, right? I will try not to. Anyway, I'll be kind of brief. And I'll basically be talking about my jury experience from 2023, 2024. I think from what Ngobi has been able to present, we had a very, let me call it a robust year. 2023, and then we just saw a surge in 2024. Very robust. People, like, it's like 2020 happened. Guys were like in shock. 2021, they were thinking, I'm not so sure. 2023, 2024, they were like, yes, let me just prove I am here. And so we basically watched a lot of performances. I was looking at the data that Ngobia was showing, and in 2024, there were 225 productions around the country, and the jury was able to watch 180 of them. That might not look like a very big number for a whole year, but it clearly is, let me tell you. So in 2024 specifically, what happened that probably I would want to really mention to this forum. Most of the productions in 2024 were original productions. That I was very happy about personally. They were original productions, not adaptations, not whatever, but it was original stories. What I felt is that we are now telling our own stories in our own way, because there are different genres that were, being done. Dance theater, musicals, the street theaters that we have and stuff. And for the musicals, there was an increase in relation to professional houses doing musicals as opposed to that being a preserve for schools. That was also very interesting. The number, when it came to voting, especially for now after the nominations, and it came to voting, very many people actually went out and voted. Or very many production houses went out, wakajipigia debe. Wakajipigia debe, guys, we have been nominated. The jury has, of course, come up with their own whatever, but for the 30% or 20% that is remaining, please vote for us. And that we saw as a jury, we saw the effect of that vote. Because we usually have the first meeting where we select the nominees, and we give our jury standings. And then after the nomination has been had, we sit back and, we have another meeting and just look at the figures again. And why I'm saying voting last year was really, what walijipigia debe, is that we had, especially in instances where we had the voting margin or the margin of winning was very kidogo, like probably one has 5 votes, another one has 3, okay. One has like 67%, another one has 65. Depending on how people voted, is it called it turn whatever. Number 1 alikuwa number 1, tukienda kuangalia number 3 alikuwa number 1 because alikuwa na most votes, or number 2 alikuwa number 1. It wasn't very, for many, I think it was like 3 categories, but it was just interesting to see that. And not because they were, like when I said number 2 or number 3, they were bad. It's those ones of, we have had a discussion, tumesema, okay, fine, sawa. Because of the points ambazo umesema, these ones will become number 1, number 2, and all that. But it was just interesting to see the numerous mobilization of votes. Musicals nimesema. Probably as I go to the second part of my presentation, and Ngobi has said this, please invite the jury to come and watch your votes. To watch your votes. To watch your shows, okay? They will happily attend your shows, right? Ngobi has said something which I think is very, very important. On the website, there are 2 forms that you need to fill. One is for jury invited. To have seen it on Instagram, for example, nikuje, sikuiona, imagine. And then now someone will feel bad, you did not invite, that is 1. 2, probably you have invited the jury, but you have sent in your invite Thursday or Friday. Jury have already allocated which shows they are going to watch over the weekend. Umetuma invitation on Wednesday, surely. And then probably that is the weekend where we have 10 shows. And people are thinking, how are we going to attend all these shows? Yeah. So if we are able to, just the same way we ulipanga na uka get venue mapema, also just think of informing the jury at least 1 week in advance if you're able to. Invite them in advance, on time. Sometimes it was late notice and it was a packed weekend. Sometimes when there are many shows in a weekend and you have invited, for example, the jury late, or like umetuma your invite on a Monday. Okay, hii ninajua ninachoma, lakini wacha tu nichome pole pole. At times, it depends. Okay, and this was me. By the way, I'm not so sure akina Ian do that. This was just me. Ninaangalia ninaona, kuna show, ukumbi mdogo, main auditorium, Alliance. Alafu kuko na ingine Thika, na ingine Galleria. Hai, surely. Suki atenda show gani? I would really try and go to the ones that are close to me. However, because we are 5 jury members on the panel, we usually ensured that at least within that week, every jury member, or at least 2 jury members, have watched at least one show all round. So sometimes you might see, oh, mbona Suki huku kuja show yangu? No, imagine I might not have come for your show, but I went for another show that was somewhere else. Probably, Stini went to Thika or was in Mombasa that weekend. Ian went to Thika. I went to, Alliance Francaise, someone else went. So it's not about mbona huku kuja show yangu. No. Tuko 5 jury, or rather we were 5 jury members, and at least all of us will be there to watch your show. We attended a show last week. Okay, I attended just because it was a children's show. I wanted to take my nephew and niece to watch it. The producer of the show knows me, so when he saw me outside, he was like, but the jury didn't come to watch my show. And he was saying that, and I knew for sure there was a jury member who had actually come to watch the show. Sometimes it's that aliingia pengine na hakusema. So, as in the katika harakati ya making people come into the hall, maybe aliangalia kona, this is a complimentary ticket, akaingia, maybe hakusema yeye ni mtu wa KTA, so we might not know that they came, but imagine they did. So tusikue too whatever. Yes, please fill in the forms. The jury invitation and the award consideration. Now, one of the things I'd written here, which I laughed as I was writing, however, you filling the form does not mean you will get nominated. Imagine na nilifill form. Yeah, haikusema ukifill form, you will get a nomination, right? We are watching 180 shows. But fill form gives us the data. We are then able to, so that at the end of the day, sorry, for example, when the jury is meeting for the meeting in the quarters or at the end, isikuwe ni zile za jury members wanaanza kulizana, who was that guy in the yellow dress or in the yellow coat? Mgani? Alikuwa amevaa koti ya yellow. And then mtu ananominatiwa, and then tukiangalia picha tunasema, si huyu. And then, it just becomes a whole embarrassing affair. Especially the award consideration is so that we can be able to get the correct names to go with the award that they are getting nominated for. Venues, good, let's discover them. I loved when this hall was being renovated, like people discovered venues for doing their shows. I would go somewhere and I think, hapa nitaenda kuingilia wapi? Kuna venue kweli, and then I'm taken somewhere huko, vyumba vya chini kwa chini, and I emerge somewhere and I see, there's a venue. And I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Mastercard Entertainment took me somewhere behind Blue Springs. I went asking, sijui where, and I'm taken some, and I'm like, kumbe there's a venue here. So please let's discover these venues because they work for us. They work with our audience that, we have at that particular point in time. They work with our logistics, and they also work with everyone involved. These last 2 points, before I say the last 2 points, because these ones were heavily influenced by Ian. Have classification notices sometimes in our productions. Some of us come with kids for our productions. And then, umeweka something on stage and we're left thinking, nitaweka wapi macho? Watoto wanaangalia, wanauliza, Auntie Suki, what is that? I saw the nyonyo. And I'm like, yo. Yeah, let's just have classification notices, especially if we feel there is need for putting classification notices. The last 2 years, as I said, were influenced by Ian. Timekeeping. Aki, tukisema show inaanza 6, tuanze to 6, ama tuanze 6:10. Ian said something which I have always carried. Don't punish me for coming early. Don't punish the person who came early for being on time. So if your show is supposed to start at 6, please start at 6. If you have written 6 so the audience can be there by 6:30, ata afadhali uandikie jury message uambie, please come at 6:30. Please come at 6:30, right? Because sometimes unapata, we have 2 shows in a day. Kuna show ya 3 o'clock, kuna show ya 6 o'clock. If your show, so nimepima nimejua, if I come for your show, it starts at 3, it will end at 5, then I'll have an hour to travel to the next show. So yours starts at 4. Then it gets to 5 o'clock or 5:30, I walk out, then someone is like, ata hakungoja show yetu ikaisha. Aki imagine, si madharau, it's just because I want the next show and probably they start on time. Then consider keeping the house lights on, especially if the show has not started, so that the audience can get their seats comfortably. It is not, muna watch show, mnasikia kwa nyuma, mtu ameanguka chini. Or hata show ijaanza, we're just seated, bado tunapiga story, and people are just, yeah. Consider, you can close the curtains if you want to preserve the surprise factor of your set. But of course we understand, once the show starts, please zima lights. Mwenye amekuja amechelewa, shida yake atajua vile atafika kwa kiti chake. And with those many few remarks, thank you so much for the good work that you guys are doing. Me, I love watching show. Even now, when I'm not jury, I will appear for your show. If I do not have money, we will talk. But if I have it, I will pay for the show. Thank you very much. Oh. And now, without much further ado, the current chairperson, jury chair of KTA 2025. Let's give it up for Ian Bogwa.
Thank you. What are our expectations in 2024, 2025? I will start off and repeat the timekeeping one. Timekeeping is very important. We need to train our audience theater etiquette. If you say your show starts at 6, it is not the time to be opening the doors. You open the doors at least 20 minutes before. Sometimes, once in a while, you get people who you can't start on time because something's happening. But you've known that you're doing this show. You've known that you're going to put up the show. So you need to plan better to make sure that you are opening your doors at least 15 minutes before your curtain up. Then that way you've got 15 minutes to get your audience in and settled. Then on time, start. You need to train your audience. If your audience comes, if you say you're starting at 3, somebody comes at 2:45, and you don't start until 3:30, do you think next time they will come early? No, they will not. If you say you're starting at 3, and somebody comes at 3:15 and finds that you've started, what will happen next time they want to come to your show? They'll know these people are always on time. Respect those who keep time and start your show on time. Open your doors 15 minutes before. Get everybody settled in. And you're settling in people to a well-lit auditorium. I've come to shows here where the ushers are using lights on their phone to try and look for seats. It's ridiculous. What are you hiding? Look at this auditorium right now. Imagine it's dark and you're looking for seat, whatever, using the light on your phone. I haven't quite understood why producers do that. Give enough light for people to come in. Sometimes you only recognize the person you're sitting next to when the show starts. Just keep the lights on. Your scripts. Your scripts. Do you workshop them? Do you have somebody else read them? Or are you putting on a show because you've got to put on a show? It's lovely we're telling our stories, yes. But our stories can be told in a much better way. Sometimes the scripts are just, they're weak in the plot. And sometimes they are so predictable. So your show is like this, then the next show that you're putting on is almost exactly the same, and the next one will be the same. So your audience know exactly what's going to happen. And sooner or later, your audience is going to start dwindling because they know exactly what to expect. Can't even read my own writing. Yes, long performance. Sometimes you've got plays that are 2.5 hours when that story could have been told in 1.5. You should really consider how long your play needs to be. And also you're tiring your actors if you're going to have 2 shows. So try and workshop your whatever, or get somebody to come and look at it and see whether you need to cut stuff off and still deliver the message that you want to. Something else that happens is a lot of ad-libbing, trying to milk a situation and it's not really in the script, but this audience loves, so I'll just keep on doing it. And before long, you've added 15, 20 minutes onto the show. And you've got another performance after that. So the period between this show and the next one is really shortened. Marketing is really, really important. How you market, especially in this day of social media. Make use of social media. And if you market your show really well, sometimes it doesn't, the day you're putting your show doesn't matter. I've come to shows that have been really, really marketed well here on our Wednesday, which is not a theatre day. But they've been packed because of all the marketing, all the publicity they did. And that way, if you're putting the show on that you've marketed really, really well here, you have absolutely no competition with anything else, any other production. Trying to do all your plays on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're competing with a lot of other things. So if you can market it well, shows here on a Wednesday are very rare. I've come to 2 and they were packed out because of all the marketing that was done. So please consider Wednesday as well and do good marketing. Remember, we're only 5 jury members. So if you're giving us 10 shows to watch over the weekend, it's going to be difficult for us to watch all of them. But if you have them on a Wednesday, you will probably have all 5 jury members coming to watch. It's expensive to print programs showing your cast list, but a QR code costs nothing. A QR code which you can either have printed on your ticket or just printed on a sheet of paper like this at the entrance, and people come and scan it. then they have the whole cast list. And that will take care of the problem Suki was talking about, the man in the green dress or whatever. Because if we as jury members come in and we scan, then we know exactly who we are talking about when we are doing the nomination. So please, QR code costs nothing. If you're going to record your show, and many do, please share the link with the KTA, because we have judged shows just by watching them online. So please consider that. If you have your show recorded, send us the link and we'll be able to watch it. Then the whole jury will be able to watch it. Because sometimes we've got 2 jury members who watched a play and they're saying it was really good. But we're only going at the word of those 2. But if we have everybody else, all 5 members had watched it, then it gives us a clearer picture of what it was. What else do I have? I think that's about it. Timekeeping. That's my biggest beef. And theater etiquette. Opening the doors 15 minutes before and getting everybody settled in, and then starting your show as close to the time you said. I don't know, your poster when you say 3, are you saying your doors are opening at 3, or is the show opening at 3, or are you the actors, the whatever, coming in at 3? And you need to, you also need to have your actors know theater etiquette. You can't have actors walking in when, and I've seen it happen, actors walking in about 15 minutes before the show opens. That is wrong. Unless they were running late and they'd said so. That is wrong. Theater etiquette. Your actors must be in and warmed up, ready for your audience. I will be around. If I haven't covered anything, there'll be question time, which I'm talking slowly so that the MC gets here. There'll be enough time for you to ask questions and we'll be able to answer them. These sheets of paper I'm holding are what we look for when we are judging, when we're giving nominations. So what I like isn't necessarily what Lewis likes, but it's always whatever the jury agrees. Even if I don't agree with it, I will have to go with it. That's why there are 5 of us. So she will say yes, she'll say yes, I'll say no, he'll say yes, he'll say yes. I'm the chair. It has to go with no, right? No, the majority. Just because I didn't like your production, or I didn't like an actor, but they thought they were suitable, I have to go with that. That's why there are 5 of us. So we work, we fight, but we agree to disagree. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Suki. Makofi kwao. Makofi mazuri kidogo kwao. Yeah. When you see the photos we share from the jury conference, let me give you a hint. When Ian is prominent at saying no, he has very strong no's, but he also has yeses. But kwa picha ukiona Ian anafanya, just know there are all yeses, Ian's no was, yeah, so it's like, okay, it's fine. Yeah, so thank you. The final speaker before we have the Q&A will be our guest from Kipra. Kipra collects a lot of data and does a lot of research across all spectrum of the economy. All spectra of the economy. But for the last 3-4 years, Anne has made it her personal initiative to ensure that she's in all creative spaces I've seen her in very interesting places, collecting data from the creative perspective so that we can now have our seat on the policy table. So please clap for Anne as she also takes us through a few remarks. Thank you, Karibu.
Thank you very much. I like the context that Gobi has given. So Anne Gitonga, I'm a policy analyst in an institution that does policy research to inform the government. It's a government institution called KITFT. So around, like 3 years ago, as he said, I was given the honor of undertaking research in the creative economy. And as you know, which I then discovered later, data is extremely limited. So I ended up forming my own personal network. So Gobi, I literally searched for everyone everywhere I could find in the different industries, and then they kept on guiding me. But unfortunately, even with the networks, I have to rely on the key informants to guide me, to give some insights. This is just very, very limited data. So when KITFT initiated and the Theatre Awards emerged, I watched the first Theatre Awards online, and I texted them, I'm like, I finally have this. I didn't even know language is that diverse. And why that's important, I'm only a policy analyst, so we inform the government, is the government is doing, this is one example, the government has been establishing the importance of having a language policy, but without evidence to portray why language is being articulated or important, then it will just be in the backshop of the language. People are okay. But if we could motivate it, like now the policy, also policy, obviously the main intent of policy is to clarify what government intends to do. So it's just government intent. So if for instance, language policy can then inform or support theatre arts, then that's important. So such data is important. Another example that I'd like to give is, again, while undertaking research, I observed that the education, so in around 1980s, 844 was introduced, which introduced what they were calling practical skills. That's where arts and music came in. And then around 2000, it became an unexaminable subject. And I just wanted to see if that affects uptake. And you could see there's a decline in the number of students that took KCSE, decline in teachers. So again, I was trying to present a position that without a clear policy, then the outcome is affected. So this is why we need to now draw the link between policy and practice. Again, when discussing with Gobia and people in theatre, I realized another thing. There's not enough information on theatre performance, numbers, like you were saying, and not only numbers, what economists call multiplier effect. In Kenya, you can tell for agriculture, there are some studies that KIPRA has done. They say for investment in agriculture, it will contribute to maybe 1.4 jobs. You can see the same in the UK. UK says for theatre, obviously the UK is a big economy to give us as an example because theatre is so important. But they do have studies that for one production, for one job in theatre, the economy gets four additional jobs, something like that. But that just means, and I think you know this, for one production, you will need professionals in different disciplines. You'll need artists, makeup artists, you'll need a designer. So that's what, if we could document that, then that can inform the government that in one production, the economy has this much impact. So again, there's not enough data to get there. So I'm just continuing to motivate that because I'm a user of data, like I said earlier, and it really supports us. So because of the policy the data vacuum, one of the end of last year, we designed a research to inform policy when we observed from the medium-term plan, which is the plan that informs Vision 2030. So the fourth medium-term plan says, of course, because it's building on better, says that we need to look at infrastructure and capacity. So infrastructure, I'm still trying to see how to get that data, because then we can inform policy. So capacity, we just decided to do a survey. And I hope, and I think some of you responded to an electronic survey we had, and we were calling it occupational capacity. It was long, so we got a lot of complaints in terms of length, but we also got a lot of good feedback, because we kind of had to test it, what you were saying, pilots. So we asked, we're researchers, so we asked the Gobias, please run through this questionnaire, what do you think, and then help us deploy. So we were, in my opinion, largely successful. We did theatre, film, and music, and for theatre we got, I think, around 85 respondents. and it brought out, and we were looking at what we were calling occupational gaps. So I'll just give you this example because once we publish, we'll share, but how it was so relevant to establishing the policy, how to inform policy. So because research obviously is very scientific, we couldn't pick out occupations or genres, based on what we think, as a lighting manager. We had to leverage on existing data. So we found a study that was done, I think, in Australia that was using a methodology called, or an approach called dynamic mapping. So it could cluster the occupations that are core to theatre production and those that are support. So we picked the same, and then we used those criteria, and we asked people, please select where you are, indicate your skill gaps, your opportunities, your interests, your performances. So one finding that I remember that I can give is script writing was one of the gaps that the thespians, I'm assuming that's the correct word, have indicated as a gap. So no wonder you're having a problem with the script. So they say, and then for the same study we try to observe who's providing training on script writing. And in Kenya, it's not an independent study. There's no certified university or accredited TVET that provides us an independent study. So you see now we can then now inform policy thanks to your input. So that's one example that we want to give. So that was on creative. So we looked at it from creation, production, and dissemination. So creation was script writing. Dissemination was occupations I don't really know. One was called art manager. The other one was media producer or media producer, and the third was lighting technician. That in production are limited. So again, we map out, and yeah, those two that I didn't even know are not provided as an independent degrees. They might be embedded within existing ones. So then it again provides opportunities to inform TVETs or universities that there's a gap. And the last one was dissemination. There's limited event managers, organizers. So possibly, and I'm liking that I'm here to hear, possibly that's why marketing is limited. Because you're not looking at it from the value. So the government seems to look at the value chain approach. So that's why we looked at it from creation, production to dissemination. And then we asked you to respond. So it's you guys saying, yeah, I have to know event managers. So to what extent? And then again, in terms of training, there's one. There's one TVET that provides something about business and event management. So maybe that's so I was happy I was given this opportunity because I call myself a groupie. Like I'm not really in the creatives, I'm an observer from the outside. I keep saying I will start doing more consumption, but for now it's actually benefiting me because my eyes and my heart is different. I'm looking at it as a researcher. But yes, my level of consumption is not the best. When I watch one play, I'm texting, watch one play. It's bad. But I like that it's there. Like I'm doing a research not from a vacuum, it actually exists, and then like we observed it's in different counties. The last observation, again from research, is limited in fact we're calling it limited, I hope this is the correct term, we're saying limited creative infrastructure. So that and we observed also that the county, from the Constitution of Kenya, it's the role of the county obviously to do creative. And then there's a draft culture bill that says that the county shall establish, I don't know what they're calling it, creative, no, cultural spaces or something like that. But again, they need to be motivated by that is actually a need. So I like that policy is starting to go that direction. But it needs to continue being influenced by evidence so that we tell the county that we have observed this demand. We were supporting Kenyan Film Commission in one event, and we were in Nakuru, and somebody said, I have a play, and I really want to disseminate it in Nakuru. And I can't figure out how. And I don't want to Nairobi. And it sounds so basic, particularly because Nakuru is considered as the first creative city. So it sounds basic, and maybe a policymaker does not notice how basic it is because we're not articulating the data significantly. So for me, it's two things. Continue inviting KITFT to spaces like this. Like I said, I've attended awards now finally. It's an eye-opener for data purposes, and then do not tire to giving data. I know initially, especially for film, when we call them and say, please respond, they're like, we've responded, we don't even get the findings, so like, okay, we are government, it's our first time to do so, so at least give us that opportunity, maybe the rest of private sector. So we realize that we also have to present what we do and why we do it, and that it will be for public consumption. Because I know for others it might be for a production house or a media company. So we'll probably share once it's done so that he can communicate to the media houses. I mean, the theater companies. Because you can also help us validate that information, even if it's published. Just continue engaging. Yeah, this is an issue, or we've been interested to engage. So I think those are my messages. But I really count it as a privilege to be a researcher in an industry, even though the data is limited. Because the last point, you're actually very receptive. You may not know this, but we have done research in others. We go to farms, they're like, sure. You'd be like, when, how, what, are you in Java now? Like, it's rare. It's really rare that I can get data so fast, so easily, depending on who I'm connected to. So keep being open to that, because again, depending on who's collecting the data, it can inform policy. And that's our mandate as KIPRA. I am a staff of KIPRA. It's just research, inform. So, like I said, it's a privilege because it's the time. I keep saying it's the time. I don't know why I feel that way, but I mean, it's in better. It's never been in policy before. So yeah, let's plug in. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Makofi. So I hope we are seeing how some of these things now start marrying. Ian was talking about our scripting, and then from the data collected, actually people commented and said we need more capacity in scripting. And then we realized we do not have schools that teach only playwriting, for instance. We teach film and performing arts. Playwriting is a unit somewhere there. Maybe in high school in the IT curriculum there is some component of that, but we don't have a standalone program on teaching, for example, even in TVET. So these gaps now start coming up, and then we ask ourselves how best can we tap into this. So thank you very much, Anne. I think we can move to the Q&A session now, because I think you have collected a lot of data on that side. It is time to start disseminating the data now amongst ourselves, and I'm happy that Daktari, our senior most academic in the room, wants to kick us off this session. So, Karibu Julissa.
I don't know whether to be offended by that or... Thank you. And I want to thank the jury and the Secretariat for all the work that they are doing in bringing this all together and continuing to build the industry. We appreciate it very much. I have so many comments and questions, so let me just start with a few comments in response to Ian and Suki about venue. I think all producers and companies would agree a lot of it comes down to venue issues and financial. Because there are very few equipped venues. And so when you get something that is a big hole, you have to bring in everything. And even if you get something like a Brayburn or a KNT that is equipped, you get one day to come in and do all your load, do all your setup, do all your tech, do all your dress. And so it becomes very hectic for the theatre company to have enough time to adequately run. I mean, you need at least a week of tech. We get 24 hours. So that does affect sometimes the beginning of a show, because you're trying to deal with things. It's a continual point of education, of the tech people, of the actors, like you said, Ian, for timekeeping. When you're working with people who are not used to the industry, they stroll in 2 hours late, which, you know, if they're trying to do your makeup, and you want to get started on time, and you're hustling people around, or the police pull over your actors and keep them until curtain time. You know, this is Kenya, all kinds of things happen. But I think it does come down to that financial aspect and the lack of equipped venues. It would be so much easier and less stressful for production companies if we had more of those times and more time. When you're going to schools, you're working around school schedules. You can't get in until 5, you have to leave by 9. Trying to work with that and working around other clients and schedules. Marketing, absolutely, it's important. It takes a lot of money. Again, it comes down to the financial. We're all dependent on ticket sales. How do we get the money from marketing to do it right? So that's just something that I think we all deal with, and I don't know how to move forward more than we are. So questions that I have. What is the criteria that you use for the different categories? I have never seen anything that says this is what we're looking for in directors, this is what we're looking for in set. So is it subjective? Is there something specific that says this is the criteria that meets a good director, a good producer, a good script? It would just be helpful to know. Not that we want to teach the test, but it would just be nice to know what is the criteria being used for those categories. For example, yes, I admit I still smart a little bit from Nyanga, which had 9 sets, fly-ins. We did things on stage that had never been seen before. Costumes, makeup, hair, incredible stuff. We didn't receive a single nomination on the tech side of things. It's like, why not? When things that were nominated had a single set. So curious, like, was it not good? I know it was. So what are the criteria there? The audience vote, I'm glad it's reduced. I still have issues with that. It's nice to get the involvement of the audience, but you know that the majority of people voting have not seen most of the plays, if any of them, and so it becomes a popularity vote. How much can you rally your supporters online and get anyone who knows you from birth to vote for you? It doesn't seem a credible way to say this is a production of value because they haven't seen the production. I don't know what the answer is, because with 5 jury members, that's also an unfair load to put on the jury. But yes. Thank you for separating the categories of schools and professional companies and community companies. That was unfair on young people to be judged against professionals. It's unfair for professional and community companies to be judged with schools that have more resources than the companies do. So just to say thank you for that. And then finally, to lobby for a makeup and hair category. I know that the perception is that Ace of Face and Hair is the only one doing anything. They do the most visible and spectacular things. But in my recent one, I had Linton's Beauty Academy doing makeup and Ace of Face doing hair. So there is competition out there. If you say, well, they're the only ones, how will anyone else be brought up if we don't start in the first place? And at very least recognize the excellence that is there.
Thank you, Julissa. We appreciate the comments. The first one was on the categories and basically what we look for. I think that is food for thought. We can have a write-up as the jury and the secretariat, but it's not a prescribed, we don't have like a prescribed approach, like this is what a good set looks like, because then we'll be creating what we call a set piece. Everybody will be running towards doing something like that. But I think it would be nice to have like a descriptive, a short descriptive bit talking about this is who the best director is, what is it that we are looking at them doing, same thing with the producer and so on and so forth. Because even for us as a jury at times, we have that debate before we are out. So I think that's some good insight. We talked about the very last bit, you said hair and makeup homework for the jury. It was literally discussion this last week. So that is something that is coming up. Lucy, remind me. Audience vote. When we decided to bring down the audience vote to 30%, again it was courtesy of such forums. So thank you for that feedback once again. So we might again be having a discussion with the jury and the secretariat and seeing how best we can do that. Because we appreciate that while we want to rally the audiences, and especially the online audiences are almost always also not the theater audiences. Because we'll see somebody gathering 2,000 votes. Then you, some people actually discovered, we realized this last year, but some people have discovered how to get multiple accounts for voting. So I think now we are going to see how best to work around that, so that we focus on the value that the production has. Finally? Okay, that was it for the questions. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is for, we actually have a write-up, I remember now, but I think we can post it on the website. Outstanding design set, I've seen it and I've remembered reading it as a member of the jury in 2021. So we have one, I think we just haven't shared it yet. So effectively, so this is for set design. For instance, this is just an example, but I think we can beef it up. So the recommended criteria here is number one, effectively suggest the location of the scenes. We are able to clearly establish where this is at, and there is a score range from 1 to 10 based on how the jury feel about it. Employs effective solutions to any special challenges arising from the venue, so e.g. a small stage, lack of wing space, low ceiling, problems with sidelines. So for instance, I think Scrooge did a performance in a tent last year but one, and when that discussion was happening, there were those considerations that this was not a conventional set stage rather, and this is how they managed to do it when we were having discussions around the nominations. Number three, through purposeful design, creatively complements and supports the director's vision for the production. Number four, reinforces the style, tone, mood, atmosphere, or themes of the production. Number five, demonstrates excellence and innovation in design. So there is that also, if necessary, shows evidence of background research that has informed the design. So e.g. in relation to the period, culture, or style, again we score that between 1 to 10. Effectively uses color, shape, texture, and having regard to contrast and balance, basically the principles of design here, and then demonstrates stylistic consistency and connection throughout the performance. And finally, considers the practical needs of the actors and or the production. So that is an example, but I think this is information that probably producers or production houses don't have. So it's something that you can consider publishing on the website so that people understand what you are looking for in each and every category. Thank you. Any other question? Question or comment? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Moroni Duncan is my name, Mastercard Entertainment. So first and foremost, thank you for this forum. It's very important just to have these conversations. And then I would really want to agree with what Julissa said. One, about the criteria. For example, let me give an example with, we had a nomination for Best Equity Production, but then sometimes you find that you're doing a play that is maybe drama, and then someone else is doing a thriller. So is it something that can be considered in terms of when the criteria and the awarding ceremony? Maybe it can be for either thriller, drama, comedy, can it be that specific? And then the voting, and I think this is a conversation that is we even having in the film sector, because the jury is the one who decided that Mastercard should be nominated for Best Equity Production. Let the jury still be the one to decide whether we won or Adwama won or any other company. Like you said, if I have 5,000 followers and Ian has 20,000 followers, but then I had a better performance, granted, that would be unfair. You know, so I think that's something to consider. And then, so yeah, this is to Kipra. Thank you for being here, and I think data is really important. And for a period of time, the creative sector has not had that, not just in theatre, but also in film. And then I would want to ask, in terms of the kind of information that you're looking for, just to be able to inform policy and in guiding the government on what it needs to do, would it be possible for Kipra to develop either a document that's in this ongoing research process that can be shared with production companies, in which, for example, the kind of the questions you're going to ask there, whether it's the number of people who came, the cost of the tickets, and any other variable that you feel is important, then we can be able to fill in every other time we have a show, and then that can be used for to inform the policy paper that's going to be written. And then the other one is, yes, this is to KCC. I was actually surprised that Ukumbi Mdogo has that carries the day in terms of the number of performances there. But yeah, imagine it doing that with the way it looks. Yeah, you know. And I would really want to know, it's most affordable, but then at the same time, when you take, let me be very honest, when you take a photo of this auditorium and then place it online and tell people, because people ask questions, you tell people I have a show at Kenyan National Theatre, most times you're even afraid of saying you kumbi mdogo. On the poster you just say Kenyan National Theatre. Mtu akifika pale hawezi rudi. Ashafika. So when they come, just tell them it's ukumbi mdogo, you know. And one of the reasons is because when you look at the seats here, and then you tell someone to go across, and then you know the seats that are there, the windows, tulifunga na gazeti because of what do you call it? Yes, wind. There's a lot of breeze that's happening. So this is a challenge. When is there's no fresh air? When is this happening? You know, again, going back to data. Data is very stubborn. Imagine it doing that. It's topping charts with the way it looks. With a bit of change, then I feel like there'll be much more. It's going to be much better. And finally, again to KCC. In the shows that we are doing, we always have the intention of kwenda mashinani. And we did a show last year. We performed the show at Ukumbi Mdogo, then we took it to Dabiles in Karatina. It's a hotel. And we took it on the 25th, it was on Christmas. We did a performance there. And there's the intention of taking these shows to mashinani. I'm glad that I've seen Embu, who is quite active. Then is it possible to get support from KCC, especially when someone is taking these things out there? Because at the end of the day, mtu wa mashinani, they want to know what backing do you have. You know, it still carries a lot of weight. If I go there and I say I'm bringing a show as Mastercard Entertainment, but then I go there and I say Mastercard Entertainment in partnership with Kenya Cultural Center, there's a bit of weight that I get. So it also allows me to get, for example, companies who can come in and I can get to make a bit extra. You know, at the end of the day, there's a business aspect to it. Yeah, so with those remarks, thank you very much. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Makofi. So again, more discussion on the public votes coming from there. So we pick that up. We've talked about the genres, the categories. Again, I think that have been indicated. We'll look into it. We had mentioned when we were presenting the statistics that we might acknowledge them, but if it's not a competitive genre, it becomes a bit difficult to set it up as a category yet until probably it grows, but we keep supporting it through special mentions and what have you. The issue about Ukumbi Mdogo, well noted, KCC in the house, wamesikia. The KCC team in the house. It's something that has been raised before, and it's a budget issue. I can speak on behalf of KCC as our partners. It's a budget issue. So once this was done, that concern was brought up very fast because there's Cheche, there's Ukumbi Mdogo, and all the spaces that we have, because the Kenya National Theatre is just one space, especially the main auditorium, amongst the other spaces that we have at the Kenyan Cultural Center, which brings me to the second point also. For the longest time, most people rather didn't know this is the Kenyan Cultural Center. We knew this as the Kenya National Theatre. But I think from where I'm seated, I appreciate that the current management is trying as much as possible to show that there's a Kenyan Cultural Center that is not just for Nairobi, which is why we have all these county programs running. There is concerted effort from a budgetary perspective to have a sufficient budget for us to have spaces similar to this in all the counties. So now it becomes easy for KCC to say they are supporting productions in the counties as well. So currently, I don't think there is budget for that, but the kind of support that comes is probably we might want transportation, just come have a discussion with them. They might offer a van. They might, if the performance space that you want to use is public, is government owned, they might talk to them, like in Kisumu, if you're going to Mama Grace, you're going to theatre in Mombasa that is owned by government and all that, there can be discussions that ensure that you get decent rates and also some sort of support from that county government when we are down there. Culture is an evolved function, so that's why that became a challenge, because in every county you have a director of culture. So the national government through KCC tries to work with the directorates to see that artists, especially from Nairobi, are supported. But that is some good insight. I would encourage us when we have have those ideas, like you want to go into Karatina, as you've said, come discuss with management, talk to the CEO, Mr. Pundo. They might share ideas on how best you can penetrate that particular market, because this is something currently that is best sorted out on issue by issue basis, and we've seen a lot of them actually benefit. So thank you very much for that insight. Any other comments? Thank you. I'll have the lady there, this entire battalion here. One, two.
Good morning. I'm Gadoni Njuguna Moronyo, and I don't know who to direct this question to, but it's an issue that has been happening, especially with the main auditorium. And so as a production, you engage vendors. And of course, they pay a certain fee to the production, of course, to be able to sell things, food, drinks. And then now the issue is they can't come in with their food. So sometimes somebody came early, but because they had not grabbed something to eat, amebaki nje akule. But then tumeshaanza show, but because they cannot come in with the food, now it becomes a whole problem. I'll use an example. It wasn't even my production. I'm from Mastercard Entertainment, but I was working with Kwandego Production, and they had even suggested, because the problem is, the cleanup, who's going to clean it after, and totally understandable. But they had even suggested that they'll have cleaners do that. They'll look for people to clean up. Just allow our audience to come in with the food, and it became a whole discussion. So, because I've done plays even at Briban, and it's okay. You come in, the audience can come in with the food, and then I feel like sometimes we deal with adults. Unaweza waambia, whatever you have, just if you can, kindly walk out with it, you know. So I don't understand what usually is that rigidity ya hatuwezi ingia nayo inakuwaga kesi. You try raise it up pale, utapambana na watu. So I don't know how that can be held, because now it becomes unfair to the vendors. They paid, but then even the audience, why buy something and not finish eating? That is usually the question. Yeah. Walai. Oh, really? So should we stop?
Strict about that. It may be once in a while that somebody gets through, but theater etiquette, no food or drink allowed in the auditorium. Yes.
What I can guide regarding that, because we have different, Ian mentioned this, theatre etiquette even for actors and actresses and people in the theatre space. I was in Briban when somebody, I attended a short Briban and somebody came with snacks and they were like, I brought you snacks. And you feel some type of way. Because growing up, I'm from Nakuru and I went through the Players Theatre with the Kinasuki. It is like a scene to be seen, to enter into the theatre space with anything like that. So I think that's theatre etiquette across the world. But what we do is the spaces that are provided, for example, when we have shows here, and this is now, I think, from an audience management perspective. If we have the interval, for example, and we want people to snack or have something in that particular space, the way the Kenyan National Theatre is set up, the main auditorium, is we have this entire space that most of the time we segment or divide in such a way that you can have your snacks there, guys who are having a drink can have their drinks there, and so on and so forth. I think it's just an issue of audience management, because also our audience is not well educated in that regard, and it is our job as theatre artists now to educate them. We let them know that if you're coming for my show at 6, I have vendors. They'll be here from, let's say, 4. If you want to buy something, come in at 5, 5:30, buy it and finish. I have seen that. I have seen utter shock on people at the door. We are getting in, somebody has a soda or a snack, security is like, no. That somebody looks at you like, what do you mean? This is my food I bought. You are selling it here, why can't I come in with it? So it is audience education, I think, and in our shows, as well as producers, maybe this is something that you can inculcate in our theater audiences so that they get to know. I think because in the movies you can do all these things, people assume in the theater you can do them as well. Theater is extremely elitist, and that is what we have borrowed from how we got it. Yet in African tradition, we'll see it in that circle, eat meat, blah blah blah, practice theater. But the moment we come into the space, I think it will take an entire generational shift to change how we perceive that.
Good morning. My name is Mark Obwire, as I mentioned before. Maybe before the comments, I would like to congratulate Levicia, my friend, for making it to the jury, and Dr. Suki for handing over power. It's very un-African. So I've seen the jury for this year, and I believe we'll work more towards quality. My first comment would be, Dr. Ngobi has mentioned about sharing data from our shows, from our activities. I think there's no structural back and forth, which I think we should develop, so that I know when I have a show, what do you want me to share? I can also tell you what I will not, what I don't want to share. If I don't want to tell you how much I pay people. And also, for people like, for data collectors like Kipra, it will be more actionable. If maybe you want me to give you maybe my quarterly report, or you want me to share with you the report after the show, or I give you my annual report, I did this, I did that, this place and that place, this is what I found. I think it will be more, if we are structured, people will share some more meaningful things. Because from the data I've seen here, I still am very big village performer. So I was taking from your points of KMF. There's a lot of theater mixed with some other things out there. So sometimes you cannot describe it as theater really, but theater. For example, last year when we went for Southeast Bomber, so you discover in a place like Eldoret, there's a lot of theater groups, but they are in entertainment. They do set books, but they identify their theater, their structure, the director, producer, everything. They make money, but they do set books. So maybe from an awards perspective, they don't fit the description, but from a data perspective, it will help maybe onboard them into some programs, mentorship programs, trainings, and things like those. Also, I'm very happy for the event today. At least I've come to consume data. I'm a very big consumer of data. I'm telling people, kesho saa 3 tutakuwa KNT, then they're like, kwani unaweka kesho na useme? Unaenda rehearsal? You know, whenever we come here, we're just coming to rehearse. And I've also picked very good points. My friend here, Mudavadi from Milas, and I, we are beneficiaries for this year's His Stage. So we'll be going to, I'll be going to 5 venues. I don't know how many they'll be going to. So it can also be a point of partnership with you, because within that tour there's trainings, there's community engagement, so that can also be a very important thing. Also from what you mentioned about Uganda last year, we had very fruitful conversations with the thespians from all over the world, and we tuko mahali, tuko juu sana, tuko chini sana, tuko tu mahali hapo. I'm happy there's a policy advisor here, but one thing that I discovered we have in Kenya that we take for granted is, as much as the policy on creative economy and theater is not that defined, lakini tuko nayo. We have it, at least there's something on paper. There's an organization, because there are people from some countries who are telling me, for you to get your work to be copyrighted, the number of letters you have to do, the number of fees, while for us is, if I write a script right now and nitume 100 kwa Kekobo, I get my certificate by tomorrow. So we are tuko mahali. Also I don't know if it be a suggestion or a point of discussion, I also like to see these awards I know it's few editions, but with the time, we just move from events, trophies and certificates to maybe other things. For example, Mando here was Company of the Year. Was it? Production Company of the Year last year. What can we have him share with other companies? Maybe we have networking events, fellowships. What would I learn from Chadota or Maricho here? As winners of 2024, 2025, you see, we have had a jury member here tell us her experience and her observations. So we can also have Mando tell us kuanzia ushindi award, nini imebadilika, and what places can you use this certificate, what places can you use? Because it become something like going to Kampala International Festival. Those were one of the points they were looking at. Have you won any awards? Have you had any recognitions? So those few remarks, thank you.
Good morning once again. It's almost afternoon. My name is Robinson Davadi from Millers Productions Kenya. Just have a few pointers. First, I want to thank the whole team that organized these theatre awards from the word go. As an actor, having an award or just a nomination adds a bit of oil in you. Ukisikia unanitoa mani fulani unaenda head high ukisema there is something nice that I'm doing. So we want to thank you for giving us this chance. At least this is our safe space. We call it our safe space. To my questions, we all know for productions to take place, we all need money, finances. So I don't know what criteria the judges used or the jury when assuming comparing two theatre companies. There is one that has used around 3 million, maybe Rena ametumia 3 million, and I've used 100,000 for a production. You can see when you go and watch this production, maybe the one that has used a lot of money, yeah, it's good, but the one that has almost used that like budget kabisa iko chini is even more good, is even better than this one. So how do you go about that? Then my second question, assuming I'm part of the jury and my friend Mark is also part of the jury and my friend Rena is part of the jury, and we all have productions. We all have productions. So do you guys declare interest? How do you go about it? Because basically, for example, me najua like my brother Reina akona production and then I'm part of the jury. Nitakuwa na ile ajia siwezi toa my brother. There is something. Yeah, that's that aspect of corruption. Yeah. So how do you go about it? This last one is not a question. It goes directly to the Kenya Cultural Center iko kando. As an actor, when you start a show, for example, I'm doing a show here, and the show is due in a month's time. The rehearsal space that I'm being given here, I'll be given only 1 day to use the stage for the take run. And basically, we're on a struggle because you know very well perfect practice makes perfect. You'll be very comfortable when using the space that you're going to use in the real performance, other than using somewhere a ground. Ukitembea place, you always find actors uko chini ya miti, others kuna classrooms. So it doesn't show a good picture. So as an industry, what are we doing? Na KCC, how do you encourage us so that ukikuja ku perform here, you're given that space. You have to rehearse maybe at least a week given maybe 1 week, you can at least Zoea, because when you come to our shows, you'll find that the first show on Friday, the show is good. It's like a rehearsal. On Saturday, when you come to the same show, something has changed. When you come to the last show, now things are coming up. Now I feel if I'm doing another show on Monday, that was going to be the best show. So as actors, please say up. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Reina, we'd like to answer those two questions and then you proceed. Yeah, so the issue for space is coming up severally, or rather recurrently. So what we can do, we can organize a sit down with the space managers for theatre spaces. As KITFT, we will talk to KCC. KITFT doesn't have space for performances, so we'll talk to KCC, we'll talk to Preba, we'll talk to all these spaces that we've indicated here, and maybe have a sit down with producers and see how we can address some of the issues that are coming up, because they are very valid points. But unfortunately, all spaces have their own unique dynamics. So if all of them sat together and listen to producers, maybe we can have a uniform approach to how we are dealing with this space issue. The question on a 3 million performance and 100K performance and people declaring interest, I will ask the chair to respond to that. He's best placed because he was a victim this last jury.
Okay, if I'll just give a random example. This is just, imagine if I was in a show with, I'll just pick anyone, Julissa, and I'm a member of the jury. Very random, very random. Because Julissa is in it, we cannot completely cut it out. But when the jury is talking about it, I'm gagged. I have no vote, I have no say. That's what we do. If a jury member is involved in a production, they have to declare when we are nominating. And they have no vote and they can't say a thing about it. We cannot say because I was in it, the production is not suitable for nomination, because that will cut her out. Even if it was him who was producing a play, it'll be nominated. But when it comes to voting, he has no vote and no say. That's how we keep it very transparent. Answered? Yes. 3 million, 1 million. 3 million and 100,000. It's just like movies. It's just like movies. You've got big budget movies. They have their own category. And we've got very, movies that are made with very little money. They are still, it's the quality. The one that has a very low budget can still win over the one that had a lot of money. It doesn't matter how much. It's just like putting on a production here with all the lighting and putting it in the sister place, Cheche, that has candles for lights. But if they do, we're looking at the space. What are these actors doing with that space? How is the acting? It doesn't matter where you are. If your acting is good, it is good. So we do consider all of that. Even in set design, we will consider all of that. And we will have discussions about it and fights. And we have had fights. But eventually we will agree to disagree. We'll agree. Make sense? Yes.
Thank you, Kenyan.
Sorry. Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Two issues, not necessarily tied to the main topic of the day, but of course related to the overall integration of how things happen here. I think we're all here because we all believe in the value of what we do, and we all want the theaters to be filled up and the reputation of theater to be glowing, yeah? So some things might appear trivial, but I think we need to gel them so that the overall experience here is good. So she mentioned something about membership. And we all know that, yes, it's a golden rule that theater etiquette dictates you're not supposed to come in with food and drink. We all know that. But we have to appreciate that our audience might not be privy to that. And so how are we trying to bridge the gap of knowledge without sounding like we are riding on a high pedestal, you know? Because we need to have the audience come in. If our feedback to them is crass, you know, talk up with the like some security ladies have done out there. I'm a victim, so I'm speaking from a place of pain. Yes. So if you tell that to a client, they will take it almost personally, and they will not come back. But are we doing justice to the theater space if we do that? So in the spirit of trying to integrate everything, we need to also train the security personnel here on courtesy. Especially ladies, and I'm not trying to be misogynistic. Yeah, I'm speaking empirically because we've had complaints from that space. Nimeenjoy show lakini kuna kale kamama kaniharibia siku. You know. And then I've raised it. I've been told it's an HR issue. I've been told report wapi, but it keeps persisting. Yeah? So KNC, we all want to support the space. Kila mtu apate biashara, mpate clients. Lakini kitufukuzia clients through your officers who are full of ineptitude, hatusaidiani. May that be looked into. I don't know whose point it is, but I hope it will get to the right ears. The second one is communication. And jury, we respect you so much and we appreciate you. We almost revere you. So we would want to treat you a bit more, I wouldn't say sophisticatedly, but we want to pay like more homage to you when you come to our shows. But sometimes you're not able to do that because communication or your attendance comes at the very 11th hour. And so you find yourself at the gate. I get calls from the box office. Kuna jury ako hapa. Anataka kuingia. Okay. And some of us have migrated our booking to, we do it online. So you have to book your seat online, and sometimes we're even going to allow you to check yourself in advance so that you don't have to queue up there. I mean, we're all trying to advance so that the space is, as fluid as possible. But if you tell me in the morning that you want to come and attend the show, and bookings maybe sold out, and that's the day the jury member wants to come. Na siwezi kia Ian stool hapa na nimwambie wewe jibambe uone show. That's an automatic disqualification from nomination. Yeah. So why don't we maybe make our communication more effective? I'm sure you plan on the shows you're going to watch. I know the space is very vibrant, but you can actually let us know in good time, so that we also book you in good time. Stini asikuje kusema mimi nakaanga mbele bana boss wewe sote. That's what he does. And then I have to handle a lot of crises, songesha ule Stini hapa space. So if that can be looked into, we will really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rena. The issue to do with space coming up once again, and how officers working for these spaces impact our audiences. So again, I think an issue that we can pick up with the space managers. The jury, communication, and secretariat, leave that to me. We shall suffice. Nobody is going to come late again or last minute communication. Thank you. Chidota.
Hello. Hello. Since I'm here with the producers in the room, mine is just comments. Number one, for the matters to do with marketing, my company Kalaha launched a segment called Nikipi Kiko kwenye jukwaa. And Nikipi Kiko kwenye jukwaa is just supposed to give publicity for your shows before they happen. We have people talking about what is happening in the music scene, what's happening in film, and we just want to market your shows. So since the producers are here and you are the ones doing the shows, please reach out to me, reach out to my company for us to market your shows. Number two, still on social media, I like that we are talking about theatre etiquette. Leo tu kwa kalaha yetu, we've launched a segment to talk about theatre etiquette, and we're just educating people from the having interviews with artists, having interviews with kufuata leo yangu useme a comment, to just say what theatre etiquette icks you, what audience ick do you have of people who are not following theatre etiquette. So by people seeing it, they will understand that it's not okay to come with food, it's not okay to have your phone ringing, it's not okay to be here just booing and doing all those things. So that's another thing. Finally, kumaliza, I have a show on the 15th of June. I have to market, guys. I have to market. On the 15th of June at Chemi Restaurant. It will make me really, really happy if you all come. I will be fuataring you after this meeting to hawk my tickets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chadota. Chadota said she has platforms that are competing with KITFT platforms that we introduced earlier. So the equal market, equal opportunity, tupatane kwa kiwanja. But yes, also she talked about the initiatives that Kalala is doing to promote the theatre culture, theatre-going culture, which I think is very important. So good job, Chadota, keep it up. Chadota is my student, so if you come to KCA, you will be able to do such initiatives once you graduate and not just act. Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Hello. Dorothy, and my question is, I've seen data, and we've seen the gap that exists between Nairobi and other counties. And one of the biggest contributors to this gap is theatre education. It's something that's still so prestigious, and most of the theatre schools are in Nairobi. So how are you as KTA and KCC looking at the future of theatre education? Because we appreciate the county theatre fiestas, but it's a short-term thing. So how will we get this theatre education to the counties, and then it becomes a continuous skill practice? Because if we have so many people in the counties who have this skill, then they'll be doing shows, and then we will bridge that gap between between Nairobi and other counties. And also, the easiest, I don't know how you partner with TVET institutions, because they are available everywhere, up to the grassroots level. We have the TVET institutions. So how are you looking into partnering with TVET institutions to make sure that theatre education gets to everyone? Yeah.
Thank you. Theatre education, both formal and informal, has many partners, many players. So informally, as you mentioned, we have the County Theatre Fiesta, run by the Kenyan Cultural Center and KITFT, which has been running for 3 years now. This year we opened up the scope. So I think, as I said, in Nakuru, we also had Narok come on board. In Kiambu, starting next week, we also have Nyeri coming on board. When we go to Embu, we open up that space to Meru and the surrounding counties. When we go to Mombasa, now it has Lamu, Kilifi, and all that. So informally, a lot is happening, but we still need more concerted efforts, as you're saying. Formally, with regards to the education system, that is something that the education players now have to work around. I know we have 2 TVETs, we call them TVETs, yes, 2 TVETs in Kagumo and Kibabii who are teaching theatre education for teachers mainly. So it is something that, again, if we have this data, as we are saying, if we have this data and we show this need, it is something that can help inform educational policy makers so that we try to disseminate it, because it's true, as you're saying, theatre education at tertiary level is mainly in Nairobi. At basic education level, competence-based education, they are bringing it in, but again, all the players are in Nairobi. So maybe also it's an opportunity for us to branch out and go to the counties and ask ourselves, how best do we tap into the opportunity that brings about, because that means you will have audiences. If students are performing plays in Mukurweini, you will have audiences in Mukurweini who want to watch theatre, not just student theatre, but also professional theatre. Yes, Julie.
Yes, I think just a question on that. Again, it's back to finances, because I have been teaching and training formally and informally for decades. I can put a class out there and say, I'm offering this class. I'm an award winner. I'm trained. I'm a doctor in drama. Come take this class. And people go, oh, great. Is there a cost? Oh, I can't afford that. Can I come for free? I mean, people do not want to pay for the education, but they want the education. So I understand the economics that people are dealing with, but then also someone has to pay for the training. So how then does that happen?
Yeah, so there is the element again of I don't know whether to call them artists or people interested in the creative economy also willing to pay for this, because as Julissa says, we have that. We have, I think, Nice Gedenji runs a class. Nini Washera has been running classes for acting. I saw Juma Brenda running classes for production design. Nancy has been doing the same. So again, it is incumbent on us as artists to actually be willing to also invest a coin in this, because I think the challenge is when you have initiatives like the County Theatre Fiesta, which is actually free, people start feeling like we need more free education. For everybody who went to school for theatre education, you have paid for that education, not just theatre education. Whether you went to train to become a researcher, a business person, a marketer, a lawyer, you paid for that education. So even in theatre education, the moment we get paying audiences, I think it will pick up a lot. But your point is valid, and I think this is a point that needs to be addressed by many players. So I know individually different organizations are doing different things to try to promote that agenda. So it's still a work in progress. And we hope, but like what we are seeing now, the influx of shows, a lot of skilled personnel is as a result of theatre education. Because they has been teaching theatre for a while. More universities have been teaching theatre for a while. KCA started teaching theatre the other day. KU has been teaching theatre for a while. The products of these particular programs, we are now starting to see them in the market, filling different gaps. And I think it is still a journey, it is a work in progress, and ultimately we get there. Okay? Yes. Bwana Principal.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have this question until Doro asked her question. It's about the different institutions. So previously, okay. All right. Thank you, Ian. So previously, we used to have a category for best learning institution. And then I noticed in the previous one, there were some minor changes. So previously when we had best learning institution, actually at Nairobi Institute of Music and Performing Arts, we got 2 nominations consecutively. Now in this last time, I think it was divided into 2. There was universities. Please remind me the other one.
It is tertiary institutions for colleges, universities, and then schools for high schools and primary schools.
But it was not written as that. It was written universities and I can't remember the other one.
No, it's best institution tertiary. So that has universities and colleges. They are combined.
Okay, maybe I don't know how we can be capturing that because it didn't come out as clearly. It was like universities and then the other ones. And then now the different institutions, some of them
they were there. Even in the nominations, they were there.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe Apo Judio Fika.
Yes, I think we qualified not to qualify.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Wazee wa kazi wameficha nyuma sana. Lakini tutakuja tu.
Asante sana. Hi, my name is Tosh, Peter Tosh from Liquid Arts Entertainment. Managed to thank you for this opportunity. Just an idea. After the Theatre Awards, if you can partner with KCC and maybe identify productions and identify a week and say, this is a theatre week. And that theatre week, it can deliberately be productions back to back. You know, like just avoiding a lot of setups. So, Monday we have a certain production, Tuesday we have a certain production, it's a theatre week. Then, to sensitize our local people, ule mso waploti, unawambia mimi na act, nakwambia ujuangu. Because some of them do not know where theatre is, number one. They don't know where theatre is. And they don't know where you act. They just think you're in KBC or Citizen or something. So that sensitization, ndio mtu waploti aweze kusema, I am coming, even your caretaker can know, or Kenya National Theatre happens at this time. Then partnership with parastatals, like KBC, it's a sister parastatal. So if KCC can partner with KBC to see how to market that theatre week. I was telling a friend that I'm going to KITFT, and he wanted to understand what is KITFT. Yes, it is there, but he knows a lot about film and all that, but KITFT, I'm a theater, so that can be told. Another thing, theater education. There's a challenge when you get people from high school performance, they come to audition, and they give you a certificate, they say they were the best male performers in their counties and all that. And when you tell them to act, you are shocked. Shocked in a good way. So they need time to be able to know what we producers want. So I feel that there's a gap at our university. I feel that there's a gap when they come to perform for us. There's a certain donation they use, and arguably they are taught that way for 8 years. So dealing with that for 8 years can make you not win an award because you went on stage and performed like that. But that's just a light moment. Lastly, is saying that I think he mentioned, my friend there, about the jury coming mapema. Sometimes they shock you, you know. Hiyo siku venye alisema show ya kwanza ni mbaya, si ndio? Mnajaribu. So hapo umejiprepare unasema welcome on notice. Unajua leo ni leo. Leo watu ndio backstage na encourage actors wanakuambia wacha mwambie come Sunday na shaka. So thank you so much for the good job that you're doing. That is just what I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Good idea. We received not Lucy and KITFT staff. Whether we can have like a theater week. We have the award ceremony on the third week of February, and we normally have World Theater Week the third week of March. So that can be something that you can consider and run all the outstanding performances. And we hope when we invite you, producers will come. Sometimes we invite you for these things, and then you have budgets bigger than KITFT Festival. So we wonder how we will manage that. So thank you. The issue of actors coming in, I think that is again different players, concerted efforts. But a challenge I can throw to you, if the festival, the drama festival, because this is where these guys come from. If the drama festival, this is what they are training, and yet they say they are training for the industry, and the industry is completely different from what they are training. Why don't we now go to the festival and tell them, guys, we have been seeing the kind of things you are sending us. Can you take this into consideration? And then we watasikia. Mkiana na sisi watasikia. Same wanafunzi will go to the organizers of the festival because all these are policy changes. So from a workshop perspective, some of us are in those spaces. So you sit in the workshop and you say, this is what we'd like you guys to produce. And then we start working towards European element fulani ya bottom up. Kutoka huko wakikuja hapa, you don't have a lot of work that you are doing towards refining that kind of talent. Before your hand, there was a hand behind you. So then I come to you.
Hi everyone, good morning. So I'm taking this opportunity and jumping to also ask my own questions, but this one is for the producers and not for KITFT. But really super amazing that you're having this platform. It also shows the level of expertise that we're seeking and the kind of jury that we have right now that is preparing this. My name is Anne Musheke. I'm an independent journalist. I review theatre for the Business Daily, but I know there's more than one of us. For me, it's two things. One, if producers can consider, and considering that now there are so many platforms that are actually talking about theatre and arts, if you could consider having a media night or a media afternoon where we can be invited to just look at the production beforehand and talk about it. Secondly, is please prepare synopsis with cast names for us. There are some people who go above and beyond and give us really good craft and programs. You don't have to go that way if that's not your budget. Give us an A4 paper that talks about, gives us a brief of what your play is about. Tell me who your cast members are so that I can be able to do that. And then for some of us who are required to have photo permissions, please assist us in following up and signing those forms, because otherwise then the photos don't, the productions don't go out with the photos. Also, I did theatre arts as one of my courses many years ago in college. I started doing theatre many years ago when if anyone remembers the name James Falkland, or you remember the year Kajetan started doing boing boing, that's how far back I go, but I've been out of the space and really happy to see what everybody is producing. And I just want to say that the level of productions we are having are really amazing. When I look at what is up on the calendar in June that is coming up, there's actually an avalanche, and the circles I'm in, there's a lot of excitement about what is going on. So let's continue to do this to a point where I'd like visitors to come in and they are looking for, when people do what to do in Nairobi, when you're visiting, theatre is part of that. But just really big up and kudos to everyone in this space. Just remember those two requests that we are making. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Musheke. Very good insights. Media nights. Ian shared something on the WhatsApp group the other day where when the shows are starting on Friday, something ran in the media from Wednesday, Thursday, talking about this is what is coming up, these are the actors, this is a practice that has been there since those days. So it's something that new upcoming or rather new producers can consider for a show so that we get there. Media visibility. She's talked about synopsis, cast list. I saw Ian's marking after that because he's been saying the same thing. So guys, remember to need QR code. If you can't afford anything else, just get the QR code using your phone. You can even give us a Word document if you don't want to have a designer. Just have a Word document that describes everything, has the cast list, so that now we start professionalizing this. And then, of course, thank you for the insights. And I think producers have been picked up, they're doing a good job. Keep it up. We have a lot of media partners willing to work with us. So engage them, let them review your work. Mzee wa kazi kao. Yes.
In her newspaper, to start off a small section about theatre productions that you can just write down. Because theatre, the newspapers will charge you if for advertising if they put the poster. But if you start a section, what can you watch this weekend? And you just have the productions.
There's a whole page that's about arts, drama, film, theatre. They don't charge for that one. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Mmeambiwa. So ukikosa show yako kwa gazeti ni wewe utaki. Asante. Yes, Kawa.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Kawa. Apparently, it looks like I'm just riding the wave because right now that is the same conversation I wanted to have as well. Publicity and just creating razzle your show way before the week of the event. I think one of the things we realized with time is that most of what you guys do is just social media. Apart from social media, there's nothing else you're doing in terms of publicity. And that is where now she comes in. That is where a company called Sonapos, which I run, also comes in. We try our best to write articles way before the event is done. And then even after the event has been staged, we also do an article. So please find a way when you are allowing the jury in your hall. Also just allow media practitioners to attend. However, very important point that she's put across. Let's have a media night where the same media people and even actors. And for me, I think I'm also talking as a Kenyan Actors Guild chairperson. There's one specific benefit we want to offer our members, where they can attend media nights at very subsidized prices, and give their comments about the performances way before the public comes in, so that they can be of assistance to you guys. Kuna kunaweza kwa nyinyi mnaona, but when your peers come and watch the show, they feel like there's one or two tweaks that you can do in your performance that can help in preparing the audience have a good time. I think Robinson amesema hii mambo ya watu wana perform and then is it you Robinson? I'm sorry, I'm getting old. You prefer people watching the show yenye imeiva au mwisho badala ile ya kwanza. But here kwanza inaweza kuwa the best kama ile Sunday if you allow people to come a day before and not just general people but even your own peers. Ili waweze kuambia. So for producers, consider the Kenya Actors Guild will be knocking on your doors very soon to have not necessarily zero rated but subsidized prices. Going back to my initial point, apart from people coming to enjoy the performance on stage, can you make it an experience outside as well? Because right now you guys are competing with TikTok and IG and film premieres that are creating an experience before people come sit down and watch. So I saw there was a play, the Quick Show that I think you were part of it, yeah? Yeah, Kinamurage. These guys even went on the streets with banners, they put up billboards. When it comes to the foyer out here, can we make it more engaging to the audience? So that when they come, they're not just paying to come and sit and watch a play, but to have an overall experience, family experience if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Kawa, for those remarks. He's mentioned that let our actors on board the Kenyan Actors Guild, they will give you decent rates for shows, media nights. Yeah. And I think it's important for us to note that because industry night, media nights, those are kids in the theater practice, so that we allow the public shows to be shows for the public. I like that nowadays we have members of the public attending the shows. There was a time the hall will be filled out, but you know everyone. That is Ian, that is Robert, that is Kao. It's just theater artists wamejaza hall kila mahali. Ni kama mmekuja complimentary ama hata kama umenunua you are an artist, but now we are seeing more and more new audiences. The audiences are the new audiences that we need to fill our spaces for all shows. So thank you, Kao, for that.
Can I?
Okay.
Wasifeel if anything, actors would go stage for the media night, they don't expect to be paid for the media night because they know for artists more or less like a dress technical rehearsal, but with an audience in the hall.
Okay. Yeah. So again, more talking points and discussions for the space managers, because clearly the actors are speaking, the producers are speaking, so we need to bring space managers to this sitting and then get to have a discussion with them and see how best we can sort out these challenges. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So I had anyway. I think that has been covered. That was one of my questions as well. Because the media night should ideally publicize an event. I think that's a standard across the world. But that's a good one. So my question is in terms of booking. I saw the data. I hope we can be able to get the presentation that you did. Thank you. My question is from the bookings that happen, and not just for KCC generally, but here, the main auditorium. The bigger percentage, is it corporate or is it production companies who don't want to know that?
For the weekends, I can answer outright, it's productions. During the week, it's when you have corporate. Because most times it's difficult to get corporates running over the weekend. They have their activities during the week. This is our reigning best performer, male in a lead role. So I just to my microphone.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Atengo. I am an actor. I am here. Director of blockings. So swali yangu ni nimesikia last year na the other year winners wali apart from trophies and certificates walipata kitu kidogo. So that's my only question. This year niliona kumenyamazwa. Ndiko nataka kujua mpango ni gani.
Thank you. Kumenyamazwa hizo miaka zingine tuliambia watu alafu tukakaa 1 year kabla tuwape Kenya wanafaa kupewa.
Afadhali tungoje 1 year. Tukijua itakuja. Watu tujui kunaendaje.
There is a proposal that has been made, that is what I will say. So we do not want to lower standards, so we are hoping we'll be able to maintain or go higher than that. Thank you for that. Exactly. That is a good point from the chair, so that we protect ourselves. Most times when those promises are made, they are made by people speaking up there. Those are the people that follow up for that. What we do is we table proposals. It is important to note that the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund is a big supporter of the festival and the awards. They're the ones who, for the last 3 years, have been helping fund our budget. It's a government agency, and they take a while to fulfill some of these things. So even whatever we are talking about awards, what have you, proposals have been made. So if they are approved, definitely we get things. If they are not approved, they have never not been approved. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to communicate something in line with that in the near future. Thank you. I think tumeongea karibu kila mtu, sioni mkono imebaki juu, or there is one. And then kuna chai iliyo iko mahali, tunaweza endelea hii story tukunywa hiyo chai. Ndio pia isipoe. Kuna watu walikuja masaa ya chai hapa peke yake.
Hi. My name is Irene Mungai. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So most of the major questions that I had, they've been asked and they've been answered. So I have one that might seem like an issue, but it's also an issue. So this is for the jury. It's very important when you come to the shows. So my request would be not all plays get to be nominated or to be chosen and all that. So my request to you is that every time you come for a show, because definitely you've come for the first show, the second show, you've seen the progress and everything. I think it would be nice if you interacted with the producer and director on the day. And it's a request. Yeah. And just tell them that, okay, this is nice. So that now, if because what happens is the jury will come, then they will come to the next show. Wait. They will come to the next show, they'll come to the next show. But you as a producer, director, you don't know what you're doing wrong or right per se. So it would just be nice. Just hear me out. You just come and just tell. So this is what. So I appreciate that now the set is you're doing well. I feel like your actors and the stories, so that the next time I look forward to actually I'm looking forward to the jury to come because they've actually improved and worked on this. And then to just make it easier for each and every one of us to actually get nominated and then get this wins. Yeah.
Thank you. I can guarantee you, if you do not start on time, he will not give you any comments. He will have disappeared maybe before even the show is over. I know the jury do that, mainly upon request. I have seen Ian, Suki, Margareta, like all the jury members. We normally have those discussions. Producers, is it true, Reina? Reina, you've talked to, you've asked questions, you've gotten answers. Buire, Mudabu. I know that kind of discussion normally happens. It's normally there, but I think the request that you're making is good, especially the feedback, because I know we collect a lot of feedback. So we can look at that as the secretariat. A show might not be dominated, but there are notes that are written down. So that can go back to the producers, because we have a lot of that actually. These guys do a lot of writings, your name. So when we have that feedback, we can share it with you guys so that you know what the jury thought about that particular show at the end of it all.
I actually wanted to say something about that. Like for example, there are shows where actually it is on. There are shows who have actually told us, hi guys, please jury, don't come on Friday. Come on Saturday or Sunday. Or come on Sunday. Like they are usually specific about that. If you don't make it specific, we will appear there on Friday at 3.
Yeah. So we can have this discussion going on informally upstairs as we grab a cup of tea. Jury member Angela wants to say something.
So, I started watching theatre shows through KTFT. I think this year. And last year I called Kenyan Dickens, like talking about what has been happening throughout the year. And then Sanka Corona, because I also write about theatre. And I feel like most artists have you and support your work. and also want to grow the theater, like someone who hasn't gone to a show pia kuna interest. So mkiangalia the standard, every Sunday we do theater shows, like articles around theater, and then also TNX Africa, which is also part of the standard. So because like media promoting art stories is not easy. So like do you have audience for that? Yeah. So mkijua, please like share the links of what we do, come and about your work, or your friends' work. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So the media is here to support. So it's upon us now to share that information and keep communicating with them so that we get this. Whenever you follow Stini on Facebook, after your show, Stini will post almost all the photos. Again, you'll be able to follow the show from a pictorial perspective. When we asked Stini to be the juror, he said, already I'm a judge. I just don't have what do you call it? You're not on the panel. You're an independent judge and photographer. And it goes to all the shows. So the jury members, very resourceful people. Just let us keep communicating and talking to them. Thank you very much, guys, for attending our session today. We appreciate we have collected a lot of data once again from this kind of sit down. One of the primary things coming up is the engagement with the managers so that we try to sort out some of those issues. Maybe we are making noise that you are starting late and it's not a UP, it's a space thing from what is coming up. Although it's still a UP in Kimpango. But now we'll be able to sit down and ensure that the space is no longer in the mix. It is completely upon you how you move on. So, asanteni, let us keep engaging. We'll share these reports that we presented with all the producers via emails. We have them. And we'll invite you to more and more industry events where we sit down and engage like this and come up with a way forward for industry. Once again, I invite all of you to KITFT this year, 4th to 16th November. It's our 10th year. Somebody talked about creating an experience. At KITFT, we are all about creating new experiences in festivals. So please share your ideas, share your comments, and most importantly, attend and bring people to attend and let us celebrate theater. Thank you very much. I have been your upcoming MC. Now I'll usher you to the tea upstairs. I think Chadota said she's collecting interviews. Other people will ask you questions and so on and so forth. Let's have fun. Let's keep engaging. Asante sana.